Hey everybody, how's it going? Today I would like to discuss how many of our politicians in New York City don't seem to understand the concept of consent, and it's an idea that we need to get across to them because it is important that people who have power over others understand the concept of consent. Before we get into this video, because I know there are disingenuous people watching who will disagree with me on certain areas and twist my words to say that I'm something I'm not, I feel it is important that I show you this before I get into this video. This is a COVID-19 vaccination record card that shows that I got my COVID vaccine over 2 months ago. I am not anti-vaccine. I will have my children be vaccinated. I am not even anti-vaccine for vaccines that have not had FDA approval when the numbers show that the chance of something bad happening to me from the COVID vaccine are over 100 times less likely than the chance of me having something bad happen from COVID, which, let's face it, those numbers are ridiculously low as is. So 100 times less likely than something that's already ridiculous unlikely. I had no problem getting the vaccine. I think people should get the vaccine so that we can get rid of this and other variants as soon as humanly possible. That being said, I also believe in the concept of consent, and I believe that our local politicians are getting a little too out of control. So I'd like to discuss that with this video. Here, it says New York City Mayor Bill DeBlasio mandated inoculations for a range of indoor venues at a news conference Tuesday morning, requiring proof of COVID vaccinations from employees and customers of indoor eateries, gyms, and entertainment centers. The order goes into effect August 16th. With full enforcement beginning September 13th, de Blasio said the mandate, known as the New York City Key Pass, would encourage increased immunizations to combat the spread of the Delta coronavirus variant. When you hear those words, I want you to imagine the notion that because someone's vaccinated, they can do all the amazing things that are available in this city, said de Blasio, like go to this business that's closed, and this business that's closed, and that business that's closed, and this business that's closed, and that business that's closed, and that business that's closed. Anyway. De Blasio also added that the city will begin inspecting businesses for compliance in mid-September. All affected customers and workers can either provide their vaccination cards or upload their proof of vaccination to the Excelsior Pass application. So what that means is that they're going to start going around to businesses and asking, are you making sure everybody that enters is vaccinated? And if you let a customer into your business without asking them a personal health question about what they have injected into themselves, then you will get fined and shut down, Mr. Business Owner. That's right. That's right. Businesses that are so fucking desperate from being shut down, from having the restrictions off and on like a yo-yo the all year round, that are so desperate that they are building sheds on the street and adding a second level to the shed just so they could add 60 square feet to the dining experience so they could fit one more customer in hopes of paying their rent. These are the people that you think are going to be selecting their customers, that have the luxury to be able to pick out who gets to give them money and who doesn't based on their personal health decisions. Fuck you, Mayor DeBlasio, and fuck the horse you rode in on. This is what he says when he is talking about this. This is the way that he speaks, and it's important to hear the tone in which he speaks so that you can understand the degree to which our politicians, and I'm not just talking about Andrew Cuomo here, don't understand the concept of consent.
We tried voluntary. We could not have been more kind and compassionate as a country. Free testing everywhere you turn, incentives, friendly, warm embrace. The voluntary phase is over.
It's time that these politicians learn the meaning of the word no. When they say that you need to shut down your business, and we're not going to tell you when you're allowed to reopen your business, and we're not going to tell you if we're helping you pay the rent on that business or the employees from that business, but you need to shut down, and we're not going to tell you how you pay for the rest of your life for all of these things, the answer should be no. When our local politicians ask that when on the street, if we see people that are, 5 feet apart instead of 6 feet apart, that we take pictures of them with our phones and report it to the de Blasio police, that we say no. And when they say that we need to be the police that enforce whether or not people have injected something into their arm before they're allowed to do business with us, it's about time that we say no. Because these people are never going to learn unless we force them to. That is the point that we are at. And it's about time that we start using de Blasio's own language back on him. We tried being nice, but now's the time for force. We tried dealing with your bullshit restrictions and policies and asinine crap for the entire time that you've been mayor. But now it's time for us to tell you no. It's time for you to learn the meaning of the word no. If someone comes into my business and they are vaccinated, that's great. If someone comes into my business and they're not vaccinated, that's fine. I'm not going to be refusing customers based on their medical status. That's not something that we are going to do here. I have asked my employees to get the vaccine. If they have gotten the vaccine and they felt some side effects or bad the next day or whatever, they got a sick day where they could stay home, paid for the entire time after they were vaccinated. I now don't care if someone who comes into the store is vaccinated or isn't. That's on them. If someone comes into our store and they get COVID because they were not vaccinated in spite of my staff being vaccinated, that's their problem. That's their choice. If someone who works here chooses that they don't want to get this vaccine before it has FDA approval and they get COVID and something happens before they get the vaccine, I respect their freedom to make that decision. If you're saying after the last year and a half of destroying all of these businesses that used to be my customer base that I now need to reduce my customer base even more while being required to pay my full rent by rejecting people based on their medical status? No. You don't pay my rent, asshole. And I'm not listening to you. It's about time you learn the meaning of the fucking word no. I am done with you. I am done with your restrictions. I am done with your regulations, and I am done with your bullshit. I am not going to require that people have proof of COVID vaccination to enter a fucking laptop repair store. If they're not vaccinated, they get to deal with the consequences of their actions. They're big boys and girls, and they understand the consequences of their actions, and they know what's going to happen, and they know what the risks are. It's not my job as a fucking laptop repair shop owner to decline them business based on their medical decisions. And if you want to inspect my store, and you want to go through shit, and you want to try to shut me down because of it, then fine. Fuck you. I'll take my staff, I'll take my income, I'll take my people, and I'll find someplace else to go. Because that'll be the straw that breaks the camel's back. I am not becoming the fucking vaccination police on top of all the other bullshit that I have to be on top of just to do business in this city. I don't care if you come in here and try to fine me for not following an authoritarian rule. Because what I've learned about this city is that even when I do follow all of your rules to the letter, you will still find a way to come in here and fine me based on a technicality for a rule that the people who work for this city are so fucking stupid that they can't even explain when asked what the rule is. So I don't care. And I really do hope that more people start pushing back against this bullshit, against this garbage dystopia that we are starting to live in. We are living in a time where people are so desperate that they are building multi-level dining structures on the street out of plywood just to increase their square footage by this much so that they can afford to stay in business after years and years of more and more businesses getting pushed out of the city year after year after year after year after year after year after year. Enough is enough. It is time for people to push back. And I am more than happy to publicly push back and say, I am 110% pro-vaccine. I am 110% pro people getting the vaccine. I believe it makes sense to get the vaccine. You cannot call me an anti-vaxxer. What you can call me is an anti-authoritarian who doesn't like people like you getting in people's businesses and their lives. Stop. Never in this discussion do we ever think that maybe we should just ask people, what are your concerns? What would it take for you to consider becoming vaccinated? Tell me what your concerns are. Tell me what your thoughts are. Tell me why it is that you don't trust us so that maybe we can change. Let me know what's on your mind. No, we can't do that. That would actually be a fucking negotiation. That would actually be the type of thing that Jim Camp would think to do when having a discussion with someone that he wants to see his point of view. We can't do that. What we need to do is we have to condescend you. We have to offer you a grilled cheese if you get a vaccine. Then we have to try to bribe you. We'll give you $100 to get a vaccine, as if people that don't want to inject something into their arm will have their minds changed by $100. We have to then force people. So we'll condescend, then we will bribe, and if condescending and bribery doesn't work, then we'll force you to get it. We can never, just for a second, stop and think that maybe what we should do is negotiate, outreach, ask, what's on your mind? Why are you not doing it? What would it take for you to consider doing this? Of course not, because that would require treating them as human beings. That would require not being an asshole authoritarian who believes that he has ultimate control over other people. That's not the way the world works. Whether you are a boss, an employer, a politician, or a teacher, you earn authority from people. You don't have authority simply because there is a title next to your name. Authority is earned, and trust is earned. You are a mayor and a governor, not a dictator and a king. Learn your role and get the fuck out of here with this bullshit. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something.